This story shocked all of Greece and became the crime of the century. If it were not for the tragic coincidences, the case would have remained unsolved. Rula Pispirigu was born in 1989 in the city of Patras, Greece. She had a sister, Dimitra, who was 8 years younger than her. The sisters grew up mostly with their grandparents. She was described as a disobedient girl with a strong personality. Rula received a medical education and became a nurse, but she never worked in her profession. The girl changed several professions in her life, but her main passion was football. While working as a football referee, she met her future husband, Manos Daskalakis. At that time, he was a goalkeeper, and Rula fell madly in love with him. Manos was 19 years old at the time, and Rula was 22. They started dating, and soon the girl became pregnant. Therefore, the couple decided to get married. The boy's parents were against it. They were concerned not only by Rula's strange behavior, but also by the fact that the girl was 3 years older. However, this did not stop Manos. Their wedding took place in 2012, after which their daughter Georgina was born. She also loved football, and her mother took her to training sessions. In 2015, their second daughter, Malena, was born. The family with 2 children seemed happy, but behind closed doors there were problems in their home. The couple started arguing frequently. Rula suffered from depression and made 2 attempts to take her own life, but they were unsuccessful, and soon a tragedy occurred. On April 13, 2019, little Malena passed away at the age of 3.5. The girl was hospitalized at a children's hospital with symptoms of a rare disease. According to doctors, it was a form of leukemia that was completely curable. Malena beat the disease and was supposed to return home. Nothing foreshadowed trouble. Rula was with the girl in the hospital at that fateful day, Saturday, April 13, 2019. The child was in a great mood. Malena was in a good shape and ate a kebab at the hospital that her parents had brought her. But just a few hours later, when her father left the ward, everything changed dramatically. According to Rula, she and her daughter went to bed after her husband left. An hour later, they were woken up by a nurse who came to give her medicine for her stomach. 10 minutes later, at 4:40 p.m., the child started to tremble, wheeze, and had some kind of seizure. The woman tried to help her daughter and shouted, "Malena, Malena," but it didn't help. She ran to call the nurses. They started to provide assistance to the girl, but it was too late. The child passed away. The cause of death, as determined by the coroner, was liver failure and pulmonary edema. The family was deeply saddened by this grief. The parents rallied together. Their marriage became stronger. In 2021, the couple had their 3rd child, Iris. They were happy again, and it seemed that nothing could interfere with their happiness. But just 6 months later, the baby passed away. The girl died in her sleep at the family's home in March 2021. She was in the same room as Georgina. According to the forensic report, the baby died of sinus node agenesis, which is a degeneration of the heart cells that led to its stoppage. This disease usually occurs among elderly people, rarely in children, but doctors believed it was a congenital pathology. It turned out that on that fateful night, Rula's sister Dimitra stayed over and the women slept together. Around 7:30 a.m., the baby woke up. Her mother got up and gave her a pacifier. They fell asleep again. At 11 a.m., they went into the nursery to wake up Iris, but she showed no signs of life. Rula panicked and called her husband and asked him to come to their aid as soon as possible. At the same time, she tried to perform CPR to get her heart going, but after several unsuccessful attempts, she finally decided to call an ambulance an hour later. When the paramedics arrived, they pronounced her dead. Her body was already cold and beginning to stiffen. The second death of a child raised many questions about the mother. Why didn't Rula call an ambulance right away, but tried to resuscitate the child herself? Why did she call her husband? Precious time was lost. Maybe the child could have been saved. Rula explained her behavior by saying that she panicked and only an hour later realized that she needed to call an ambulance. The family was left with one child, their eldest daughter, Georgina. The relationship between the spouses had been very tense even before Iris's death. This grief further alienated them. The problems in the family were growing and the couple was heading for divorce. Their eldest daughter also had health problems. 15 days after Iris's death, Georgina was hospitalized with seizures. For 40 minutes she was resuscitated in the hospital, and through the incredible efforts of the doctors, the girl came back to life. She was diagnosed with heart failure. This was followed by the implantation of a defibrillator and a pacemaker. After that, she was under the supervision of doctors and was rehospitalized several times with the diagnosis of encephalopathy of unspecified etiology. Georgina had seizures, the causes of which could not be established. Doctors conducted a neuropathological examination and decided to transfer the girl to another clinic. But suddenly, on January 29, 2022, 9-year-old Georgina passed away. This event shocked everyone. Her death was the strangest because the girl had no health problems. When the doctors were trying to save the girl, Rula Pispirigu unexpectedly declared, "She is dead. Leave her. Stop your efforts. It's pointless. Georgina is not coming back. She suffered enough. Let her rest." At the same time, the woman did not look upset, which surprised the doctors. A few hours after Georgina's death, Rula wrote on her social media page, "I gave birth to you. I gave you life, but I'm angry at you for leaving my arms empty. You were my reason to laugh, my reason to keep going. You were a fighter until the last moment. You laughed. You looked at us, unable to speak, and in our eyes you saw support. Goodbye, my little one. Have a pleasant meeting with your sisters. For me, you didn't leave and never will. I love you all three." The woman got tattoos in honor of her children. After their birth, she got her first tattoo, and she got tattoos in honor of the other two after their deaths. The death of 3 daughters seemed too suspicious. They died in succession over 3 years. In all 3 cases, the girls' health did not foreshadow their departure. Moreover, doctors initially expressed their optimism about their speedy recovery and then extreme surprise at the fatal outcome. This raised great doubts for everyone. Some believed that the Pispirigu family was cursed and these deaths were caused by supernatural forces, but doctors didn't believe in this version and turned to law enforcement agencies, which decided to investigate these deaths. Experts focused on the death of the eldest girl, Georgina, because they had all the necessary information and the child's body to conduct additional research and unravel the mystery. The investigators questioned the doctors who treated Georgina. These were 20 doctors working in 5 hospitals in Athens and Patras. There were discrepancies between the doctors' words and the mother's. Doctors claimed that something was strange about the child. At first, they assumed that Georgina had heart problems, but later it turned out that this was not the case. The girl had no heart problems. The mother constantly complained of seizures and neurological problems, but during the examination they found nothing that indicates this. They diagnosed gastroenteritis and psychological problems due to the deaths of her 2 younger sisters and discharged her. But then Georgina was hospitalized again with seizures. No one could understand what was wrong with her, so the child was scheduled to be transferred to another hospital where she could be more thoroughly followed. But before they could do that, the girl passed away, even though she seemed healthy. The nurses who cared for the girl at the hospitals where she was staying were also interviewed. They also confirmed the doctor's testimony. They couldn't understand what could have happened. Shortly before her death, the girl told them that she felt like she had a bomb in her stomach that was ready to explode. Georgina was worried and trying to understand the deaths of her two sisters, Malena and Iris. She also had a fear that something similar might happen to her, and she told the doctors at the hospital about it. Raula and Manas rallied together for a while. They denied any involvement in the deaths of their children. They gave several interviews in which they dispelled doubts about this. They talked about the drama they both experienced. They repeated the word suddenly many times to emphasize that their children died suddenly and inexplicably, even though nothing foreshadowed that something bad would happen. Suddenly in her sleep, she tried to breathe but couldn't, said the mother about Malena. Toxicological tests showed nothing, said the father about Iris. The doctor said the child had no heart problems, he said, referring to the sudden death of his eldest daughter. But the investigation continued. It turned out that Raula was present with the children when they died all 3 times, but the woman denied that it meant anything. Raula stated, "I am the children's mother, therefore I was constantly with them. What surprises you so much? Don't talk nonsense." The father blamed the doctors for everything. The man was puzzled how all the tests were good, the child was healthy and then suddenly dies. This means the treatment was wrong. Toxicological examinations conducted after the girls' deaths were clean. Nothing was found. But they were conducted according to a standard scheme only for the most common substances. Therefore, it was decided to conduct additional extended tests that are not usually performed. As I mentioned earlier, in the second case of the baby's death, Raula called an ambulance too late. But it turned out that in the first case of the death of her middle daughter Malena, she also didn't seek help right away. The woman called the nurses only 35 minutes later, when the body had already started to cool. But why did the woman take so long to get help? It turned out that the coroner noted in his report that there were small scratches on Malena's nose. Could they be signs of a struggle? Additional tests revealed a high concentration of ketamine in Georgina's body. It was 6 times higher than the normal dose of anesthesia. This substance is not sold in regular pharmacies and is difficult to obtain by chance. This substance could not have entered the body accidentally. Ketamine was not used during the treatment. It turned out that the drug was administered to Georgina's body 20 minutes before her death. But who could have administered it if the doctors didn't? The medical staff last visited the girl approximately an hour before her death. The mother was the only person in the hospital room when her eldest daughter died. Therefore, she became a suspect in murder. Later, the bodies of the other 2 girls were exhumed. No ketamine was found in them, but according to the expert's report on June 20, 2022, both children, 3-year-old Malena and 6-month-old Iris, died of suffocation. Their deaths were ruled homicides. It turned out that a blood-stained handkerchief was found next to the baby's body. It was seized from the house. Rula pleaded very hard to have the handkerchief returned to her, but she was refused. On Wednesday, March 30, 2022, when 33-year-old Rula Pispirigu was at home with her sister in Patras, police officers arrived and arrested her. Rula had a medical education and could have obtained this drug. She knew what she was doing and did it consciously. The investigators also established that several years ago she attended seminars on criminology. Her sister Dimitra refused to believe that Raula could be responsible for the deaths of her children. She said, "I don't believe that Rula would harm her daughters. If they didn't die of natural causes and there is something responsible for their death, let them be punished." Rula's sister claimed that when she was at the house during Iris's death, she didn't hear or see anything suspicious. However, acquaintances described Rula as cold, insensitive, and unemotional. They believed that she was quite capable of such a thing. During the investigation, a note was found in the eldest daughter's notebook that she wrote, "Mom, you are evil." Neighbors claimed that they saw Rula brutally beating her eldest daughter when she was still a baby. They reported this to the police, who passed the complaint on to social services, and they kept the family under control, periodically coming to their home for checks. Rula's phone contained a message she sent the day before Georgina's death that read, "You'll see what happens tomorrow." This became one of the main pieces of evidence of her guilt. After Rula's arrest, her husband, having learned about all the evidence against her, became convinced that his wife had done it. He filed for divorce. The man was shocked by his wife's actions and didn't understand why she had done it. Manas said that during Georgina's death, Rula was supposedly pregnant, but he suspected that it wasn't his child because they hadn't slept together for a long time. After Georgina's death, the woman immediately terminated this pregnancy. Manas assumed that she was seeing another man to make him jealous. He also doubted that his middle daughter Malena and his youngest daughter Iris were his. Upon learning for the divorce, Rula went crazy. She wrote a message to a friend saying that she wanted to cast a spell on her husband so that he wouldn't leave her. The woman was out of her mind. 2 weeks before Georgina's death, her husband had suggested they divorce, and Rula turned to fortune tellers asking them to keep Manas. But it didn't help. What could the motive be then? Initially, the version that Rula suffered from Munchausen syndrome by proxy was considered. This is a disorder in which parents or caregivers intentionally cause a child or vulnerable adult, such as a person with a disability, to become ill or invent their illness in order to seek medical attention. But this version was not confirmed. Later, it turned out that Manas had a mistress. The woman knew that he was cheating on her and was thinking about divorce. Rula tried with all her might to keep her husband. She probably wanted to either get his attention and get him back in the family, and the death of the first child helped with this. They really did rally together. Or she wanted to get revenge on him this way. Rula's sister doesn't believe in this version. She claims that she advised Rula to divorce Manas because of the problems in their marriage. Rula understood everything but didn't want to divorce because of the children. But her sister didn't believe that Rula could be capable of such a thing. A psychiatrist who spoke with Rula made the following conclusions about her. All her thoughts were focused on her husband. She is fixated on him, obsessed with him, and very envious of other women. She viewed her children as narcissistic extensions of herself. The woman didn't understand their basic needs for development. An angry mob of about 500 people came to Rula's house after her arrest and demanded the death penalty for the woman for the murder of 3 children. Her mother, sister, and other relatives were in the house at the time. The windows of the apartment were covered with inscriptions, "Death to the murderer," and a mysterious note written on gauze appeared on the wall, "I should have let you die. Forgive me, my kindred spirits. I didn't know I was saving a murderer. Forgive me, forgive me. I can't believe it." It was never possible to establish who left this note. It is presumed that the handwriting belonged to a woman. The trial in this case continues. Rula Pispirigu is currently in custody in a solitary VIP cell with all the amenities. She does not interact with other inmates for security reasons. She is being watched closely because of fears that she may take her own life. Rula has been charged with the murder of 3 children. The woman continues to deny all charges. Rula claims that she is a victim who has lost her children, her husband, and her freedom. She is sure that this is some kind of mistake. She will be acquitted. She will get out of prison and fix her relationship with Manus. She still hasn't come to terms with the divorce. Rula's ex-husband wants nothing to do with her. He's dating another girl and they're planning a wedding and want to have children. I will follow the progress of this case and report on the verdict. Thank you to my subscribers for recommending this story to me and helping me gather the materials. If you enjoyed this work, subscribe to the channel, support this video with a like, and let's discuss this story in the comments. Thank you all and goodbye. Our video has come to an end. If you want to see more interesting content, subscribe to our channel and press the bell to not miss the new release.